Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Monday. It's February 2nd. We're starting a new month today on this Monday trading day. This today was I don't even know how to describe today. I talked about it in our um, midday chart on that every time we get down in this area, we suddenly have a huge rally, and today, I wasn't expecting it to necessarily happen today, but you just have to be prepared that every time we break below 2,000 for any period of time, we suddenly come roaring back, and today was no exception. We traded as low as 1973, 74 area, and before the day was over, we're at 2018. I mean, that's just an incredible move there, and there's no way to predict that. Only thing you could do really would draw these shorter term channels. There's a bigger two-tiered channel here. I thought that we had a two-tiered channel working down, and maybe we did. It looks valid, but when prices came back to it, they never hesitated. They just took off. They tried to come back for a retest, but right around this 1985, we found support, and we took off for another leg. And you can see that there's your first leg, and you're looking for a measured leg, and you see we pretty much got it by 230, and we actually pushed a little bit higher, and we're trading in that area now. So nice two-legged move up today, and there was really, here's your move down, and so you were looking for at least a measured move there, and you said we actually got another push lower than that on that one. But we had a channel, a shorter term channel that was working down through here that you could follow. But this one, it just didn't play out. We had the first two swings. It worked at the bottom. It had a nice midline, but when we came back to it, prices they never really even hesitated. They broke through it, pulled back, tested it, and off to the races. So I'm just going to get that out of the way because it just is confusing. And really what you had was this bigger channel. And I mean, it looks very good. It looks very valid. And I believe that to be the pattern. So it just goes to show, and I mean, you really could have found this up here. I mean, um, I saw this earlier, but I couldn't make it fit on the low side anywhere, so I didn't pay much attention to it. And you don't know where to look for it down here. And so until you got these two and this bounce here, there was no way to really confirm that channel. Now, when you got to right here, and it bounced right here, um, you had an idea. And but other than that, there's just not much telling you what's going on there. So it wasn't an easy day. I guess I would say that. I mean, if you traded once you got to moving in any direction, it was a nice move. So there were some nice trades, but it was a little bit difficult to determine when it was going to turn. Like this one here, we had a break of this channel, and look how far it moved before it turned. And then this channel working down here, we had a break. We never really got a new low. Um, this one we got a break and a couple legs to a new low. So it worked out. So the price action was not very predictable today. It just wasn't an easy day, in my opinion. Um, you just had to go with once it started trending in one direction, you had to just go with it. And if you followed the trend lines, you got some opportunities to get some trades. And if you followed the rules, there were some trades, but it didn't follow the standard easy to follow stuff like it has somewhat in the past. So I mean, we've had harder days, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what I would call an easy day, and we'll leave it at that. But I'm a little pressed for time. I'm doing this a little bit late. It's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm going to push on through these trades, try to talk about them, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So I'm probably going to move through them a little quickly tonight. When I came in, we were working up here. I wasn't sure if it was here or if it was here. This was the low in the first couple of swings, and it fit well there on the top. And so I was looking at this as an uptrend, a break, and then a couple of legs up. But notice this this is a break. We broke higher. We pulled back to the line. We got a first entry, pulled back. We got that little trap and we got a second entry long there. So this was a nice trade right out of the gate before they opened this morning. Quick, easy move. And then suddenly we make this double top. And notice we did have a break here. Depending on how you played this one. If you had it here, that was the first break. But it just doesn't fit well there. And it doesn't fit the midline. So I believe that to be it. And there is a midline in there. You can kind of see that midline. So I think this was the break, and you had two legs up to a new high and made a double top. And look at this move. This is what a reversal pattern looks like. Look how easy it shot right through the EMA, and then two legs back up, and it turns down again. This is not a perfect setup bar, so you probably would have wanted to use a limit order, or if you use a stop. You probably could have gotten in right at the bottom of that bar, maybe a tick back in. Let me make it a little bigger. But if you played around too much, you probably would have missed this trade. And it took off really quickly. And there's leg one. And you were looking for at least a measured leg. You see it went a little bit further than that. But this was a nice setup. And this was the clue when it shot right through the EMA. And then you pull back and you get that second entry short right there. Again, I'd probably use the limit order there. There is some support here. There's enough room to get out if you use the limit order a tick or so back in. And you get a big move down. And then you pull back and you get a first entry. And it's a little bit of, I talked about this with another trader here. This one was iffy. Look at all that overlap. That's congestion or a little trading range. So it was iffy, but there is a second entry there. If it would have ticked higher and then turned down, I would have liked it better. But the reason you got this congestion is because there's a trend line. There's also support that's now acting as resistance. And the reason it's getting this little congestion is because it was trying to go higher and it couldn't. And it was running into trouble. And I went back and forth about whether or not to make that one green. But because it did confirm the trend line and it was a second entry, it was just right there. It could have gone either way. So I marked it red for that reason. There was a short right here. Notice that this is a double top, so you can count that as a new high. And you get a pullback, and that's the first entry, pullback, and there's a failed second entry there, short. And it would have, and you got just enough to scalp out there. But it's right into that support. You've had two legs down. You've had this leg was bigger than the first one. I think it's really risky. There's a chance we were heading lower to the other line here, but at that point I wasn't sure there really was one. This could have just been an overshoot, and that was another thing that made this one a little iffy, because if we overshoot it here, that means we may get the break. And this could be a trap, but it didn't turn out that way. So this one is real borderline being green or not. After the fact, it looks real simple. But when you're looking at that, the hard right side of the chart, you've got some decisions to make right there. And you can see that looks less, it just doesn't look as inviting that way, but it does fit the rules. And it is a second entry, and there's some reasons to like it. So you got two legs back, and again, this one, I'm definitely marked this one green because it's been a huge move down. You're way away from the EMA, and those trades don't work. You're better off to take this one than this one. So, and then you get a little breakout pullback short, but it doesn't get back to the trend line, and so I wasn't sure about it. There's a little shorter term trend channel in here. So I played with this line a little bit, and it just never really fit real well. If you go there, then we come up short. But after the fact, you could draw it off that line and copy it and carry it over, and it does fit there. We just had a break and then a move down. But you still had this channel going on, and the fact that you overshot it here, and then when we went straight through it there and pulled back, that's a little two-legged correction back. It's a failed second entry long. Notice this new high here, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and when it pulled back and tested it, if you went to a smaller chart, there's a clear two-legged pullback and a little second entry right there. And even though that's got a little bit of a green body, it's a bearish reversal type bar. So I like that one, looking for it to push down to this line, and that's exactly what it did. It actually overshot it a little bit. And then you actually have a failed second entry short right here that turns up, and there's enough room away from the EMA, but look how bearish that is. There's no break of this two-tiered channel. I think you're gambling there. I just don't think it's worth taking. And all through here, I think this is just something that this is where you just gotta sit and be patient. And somebody asked me that in the comment about missing a big trade or something. Sometimes you're gonna miss big trade. There's a nice big trade right here, but I don't think there's a good enough setup to take it. And plus, you're looking for a retest of this low. So if you're following the rules, you can't really take that trade right there. You could because there's a failed second entry short and there's a bounce off that trend line. So, looking at it, I might circle that green, but I think you just almost have to let that one go. And it's one of those that you have to watch that surprises you. After the fact, it looks real clear. It should have gone long right there, but I was looking to go short right there. And there is just enough to scalp out right there if you used a limit order. And you could have done that right at the bottom or even a tick. I think it might have worked regardless. Let's just look at it and see. If you entered on a stop, it was 78. Yeah, you see, this would have worked regardless, but this is one where you'd probably, it broke higher and it didn't quite go out the other side, but I would have had a stop there, or as soon as it broke lower, I would have dropped a limit order and entered it that way. And again, this right here is just something you got to stay out of. I meant to change the color of that to the purple color. So, because we're looking for a new low, so the rules tell us that we're going to probably get a retest here, right here, instead of going higher. But instead we get a trap, and it does go higher, and it pulls back here. This is only a first entry, so you really don't. And notice this little channel working up here. That was the first break, so it didn't surprise me that we did try to work higher, but it surprised me that we never made a new low here. So there's some things to think about. That's another reason to maybe think about going long there. But with everything shooting right back through the EMA there, I just think that's too risky. Now, you might have considered entering here on this one. Again, I'll give that a green one. It is a breakout pullback long. That's a very bullish move. And, you might have been thinking about, I showed you the bigger picture measured move, but you probably would have been thinking about a measured move right there, and it got it early and it went a little bit further, but look at that, and then it corrects and then it takes off again. So you might have thought about entering that one, at least riding it back up to here. We didn't quite get back to this double bottom here on the retest, and most of the time you're going to retest that. But then when it pulls back here, notice this new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. That's a failed second entry short with a nice, you actually could have gone short there, but you don't want to go short now with this thing making higher highs and higher lows. I think it's just too risky. It would have worked if you took it under that little doji, but I think you were better off to take the trap. Notice the new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and it trapped everybody, and look at it go. And then you get a second entry long there, and you get another little trap, and it breaks lower and turns and goes right out the upside, right off the EMA. Look at that double bottom, and that's like a double bottom pullback that traps some people. Oops, and it just takes off and goes higher. And that turned out to be a nice trade. Try to get that back where we had it. Moving the lines around so much I don't even know where I had them, but you have to play with it. Looks really good right there. But later it fits better like up here on these higher ones. You can see it bouncing off of it and using as support and resistance. So really you want to come off those first couple of closes there. But anyway, then you get a double top, and look at it, runs through the EMA, pulls back, and so that's like a failed second entry long. I like that one for a short. You had your break way down here, and you're way overdone here. And you get a first entry right off the trend line, but that's really, you don't have any confirmation of that's the first pull back to the trend line. And so I just think it's too risky to go short there. It's right at that bigger midline on the bigger channel. Um, and then it pulls back, and you finally get your break, and it gives a little trap. Notice that. It breaks higher, pulls back, and it tries to go higher. And then look at that big bearish bar. It broke higher first and went out the lower side. I just go with it there. If not, put a stop right under that one. This is one that never looks back. It just takes off. And now you've had your break of this one and 2 legs down, but it doesn't meet back to here. So it's really the only thing you can do. And this is a second entry short here. Notice that new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And it is right off the trend line. But it's not a great setup, and so I marked it in green, but it is right off that trend line, and you get your new low, and then you correct, you get 2 legs back, and you get another trap. You don't want to go long there out of that congestion, but when it turns up, and it turns and trades all the way down and closes almost right on the low, that's a trap, and that's 2 legs up. This is a second entry here. There's a trap. I love that big bearish reversal bar, and look at it go, boom, off to the races. And this was a really good trade going right into the lunch hour. And then it finally bounces right off that trend line where you're looking for it to bounce. But you need to wait on a second entry after a move like that, and you don't get it till here. And you get a little bit of a trap with it. It goes a little bit lower, but that's not a very good setup bar, so it's iffy. I marked it in green just because it is a bounce and there is a trap, and we've had the break and a move to a new low. And it could be that I have this, looking at it after the fact, maybe this trend line was more. Let's just play with it a minute. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this first one I have here is just not 100% accurate. That one looks a whole lot better, and then you get the overshoot, which leads to the break, and then that brings you down into here. So I think I just didn't have it drawn exactly right. And you can see there's a little bit of a midline in there. That's why sometimes it pays to, if something doesn't look exactly right and it's not acting right, now that makes total sense now. Now you've got this, you've got your overshoot, which often leads to the break on the other side. And look at there, you got your break, the little trap, and the move to a new low, and it brings you right down here where you're expecting prices to come to. So I think I just had it wrong. And so that's why I always tell people, double check your lines as the day's moving on. And just like this morning, you know, I thought I had the bigger 2-tier tier, which maybe I did, but I think in the end it was a 2-tiered upward trend. So, and then you get your second entry here, but that went right through the EMA, pulls back to it. You get a second entry long there after we just came off to that. So you're probably heading here at least, and you may head to the upper one. And so I like that for a long. And then there's a second entry. I missed that one right there. I don't know why I don't have that one marked. But notice it pulls back to that trend line, and it's a second entry long. A nice bullish reversal bar. It went out the low side, then turned up the high side. I don't think I would have gone long until we got the bullish bar and a break above it. Quick, easy move, and it comes back. And then it gives you a failed second entry short when it went below there. And look at all that congestion and all. You're better just off just to sit, and then you get the short trap, and it turns and goes up. Go long right there, and that turned out to be a really good move. You would have caught some runners right there. And man, look at it go. And that got you into the close today. So, but yeah, it just was not an easy day. But that's why a lot of times I'll adjust my lines as the day goes on. Just like here, this didn't make sense looking at the way I originally had it drawn. But after readjusting that and looking at it now it all makes perfect sense, and it would have kept you in right to the right spot, and it would have you wouldn't have had the break earlier. So yeah, sometimes you just got to adjust and take another look, and then sometimes it's just not cleared. Sometimes you just misread it, or sometimes you misjudge it. But it's obvious that I didn't have that channel. I had it a little bit too steep originally, and so all this actually was real good price action, and it fit perfectly. And this was real good price action here. It fits perfectly. Now this one coming down, a little questionable, and this one going up was a little odd too. Um, okay, sorry, I had a little interruption with the phone call there, but you can see the bigger channel and the two-tiered channel and the nice midline in there. There's no doubt. And once we bounced here and we kept going higher here, that would have been your target, this upper side. And man, that is a nice move. And even though this is all after 2 o'clock, if you've got a runner going and it's going like that, just hang on to it. There's nothing wrong with hanging on to a runner. Just don't enter any new trades after 2 o'clock. Nothing wrong with taking that runner up through there. So, but interesting day, and the only thing that would have led you to look for this reversal like this would be experience. And you know, again, once you pulled back to here and started higher again, you know, you're looking for that measured move. And there it is, and that gets you right to there, right where it touched the upper channel. And so, but the only thing that would have led you to look for that in the beginning was just experience of knowing and, you know, trading it every day. And every time we get to this price level down here, we get a huge rally. And today was no exception. But that's two really nice moves up. And this one was really spectacular here. This one wasn't exactly bad, but this one was a lot easier to figure out than this one because you had the break here early. But I think the reason that you got that break of this two-tiered channel was because most people were looking for the retest on this downward channel. I know I was. And so it surprised me when it bounced there. It didn't totally surprise me because you've got this little channel working up, and at that point I didn't really think it was a two-tiered channel. I just thought it was a channel working up in a break. So I was looking for a possible retest, but I really thought we'd go lower and then come back, or I thought we'd turn up quicker and then turn down. So the fact that it bounced early here and just kept on going, it was just really odd and caught me off guard. But that's why you can't get too caught up in you know, trying to guess what prices are going to do. Just go with what it's telling you. When it keeps going higher, draw you some shorter term trend. There's shorter term trend lines in there, just like this right here. There's a short term trend line working up through there. You get a break, a new high, and then it sells off. And so there's one right there. That one, you're moving up, you get the break, new high, and it get a correction. And if you draw it down, you'll see the same thing. And so that's why I have all these lines on here. Somebody made the comment that my chart had a lot of lines, and it does. But as you're trading in the start of the day, you don't have all these lines till the end, and it's not, you know, it's too much work for me to take them all off and put them back on as we talk. So I leave them on here. And yeah, it does look busy at times. But if your eye is trained and you're used to look at this stuff, it doesn't look that busy because it all makes sense. So, but as the day goes on my own trading chart, a lot of times if it gets too much, I'll once something's not valid anymore, I'll take it off. But a lot of times lately, I just leave them on there all day now because I don't want to put them back on to do the chart lesson, if that makes sense. So, but anyway, I need to wrap this one up. I need to get out of here tonight, and I want to get this uploaded for people. So I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.